The Devil's Creek Incident. In the remote backwoods of West Virginia, there's a narrow gravel road that leads to an old, half-collapsed cabin near a place locals call Devil's Creek. People avoid the area. Animals don't go near it. No phone signals work within a mile radius. And if you ask around, you'll hear about the 4 girls who disappeared there in the summer of 2017, Madison, Aubrey, Samantha, and Grace. It started as a casual weekend getaway. They were all college students, best friends from Ohio State, looking to celebrate the end of finals. Grace's cousin owned the cabin, more like a rotting shell of logs and rusted nails, but the girls didn't care. They brought weed, beer, and Bluetooth speakers, planning to make it a girls-only adventure. The first night was warm. They laughed, drank, and roasted marshmallows outside. Madison wandered near the creek alone around midnight, trying to get a signal on her phone. That's when she heard someone humming. Not just humming her mother's lullaby. She looked around. No one. When she turned back to the cabin, she saw her friends watching her from the porch. All 3 of them. So, who was standing behind her? Humming? Madison never came back. They searched for her until sunrise. Her shoes were found 30 feet up a dead tree, laces tied into a noose. The inside of the tree was stuffed with hair, her hair. By morning, Aubrey was frantic. She insisted the woods were breathing, that the trees were whispering names, their names. She claimed she saw a woman with no eyes crouched outside the window at 3:11 a.m., licking the glass. Samantha said she was losing her mind, but Grace believed Aubrey. They decided to leave. The car wouldn't start. The battery had been ripped out, not disconnected, ripped out. Like a hand had punched through the hood. And that's when they saw Madison again, standing across the creek, smiling. Only, it wasn't her. Her head was tilted too far. Her neck was longer. Her arms hung like they were broken. And her eyes were just hollow sockets dripping with oil. Aubrey ran to her. She never made it halfway. A shriek echoed through the trees, the sound of meat tearing, and Aubrey was yanked into the water. She didn't sink. She was dragged straight down into the black mud. Bubbles came up red. That night, Samantha stayed awake holding a kitchen knife. Grace wept and prayed. At exactly 3:33 a.m., they heard scratching under the floorboards. Then, the laughter started. Not human laughter, high-pitched, like a child being strangled. The cabin lights burst. Samantha dropped her knife. It was pulled into the shadows. Something unseen had grabbed it. The door slammed open. And there she was, the witch. She didn't float. She crawled, her body twisted. Like a centipede, arms bent backward, jaw unhinged. Her mouth was stuffed with teeth that weren't hers. Too many, some golden, some baby-sized. She whispered, "Grace." That's all she said. Samantha screamed and charged with a broken broomstick. The witch opened her mouth, and Samantha was sucked inside like smoke. No blood, no remains, just silence. Grace ran, into the woods, into the creek, into anywhere. She ran for hours until she tripped into a stone ring, an old witch circle. Animal skulls were hanging from the trees, spinning without wind. Grace didn't run anymore. She stood in the middle of the circle and screamed. And for the first time, the witch hesitated. The legend was true. The only way to kill the Devil's Creek witch was to trap her inside her own summoning ring and call her name backward. Grace screamed the name carved into one of the skulls. Esmeralda. Backward. Adalrams. The ground shook. The witch let out a howl that cracked the trees. Her body twisted into fireflies and exploded into ash. The wind stopped. When the rescue team found Grace 2 days later, she had torn out her fingernails, scratching the symbols into the dirt. She was the only survivor. She never spoke again, but every year on the same day, she writes 4 names in blood: Madison, Aubrey, Samantha, Grace, and whispers, "One of us always has to stay behind." Some say she didn't kill the witch. Some say she became her. Whispers of Black Hollow, a true American horror story. In the pine-choked mountains of Oregon lies a place called Black Hollow, where even the air feels haunted. The locals don't go there, not since the Winchester girls vanished in October 2019. Their names were Emily, Chloe, Rachel, and Olivia. 4 best friends, inseparable since grade school. They weren't reckless girls. They weren't looking for trouble. All they wanted was a full break getaway before graduation. Emily had found a cheap Airbnb online, an ancient log house built in 1887, miles from the nearest town. The photos showed fireplaces, mountain views, and an antique charm. But none of them noticed the last line in the listing: "Do not enter the forest after dark." She watches. The road to Black Hollow was like driving into a nightmare. Thick fog hung low, branches clawed at the car, and GPS stopped working a mile from the house. When they finally arrived, the place felt wrong. Not spooky, angry, like the walls themselves didn't want them there. The first night, Rachel heard someone whispering her name from inside the attic. She laughed it off until she noticed claw marks on the ceiling above her bed. Deep ones, like something had been dragging nails across the beams from the inside. On the second night, Chloe disappeared. They found her phone still recording in the woods, 10 feet from a blood-soaked tree. The footage showed her screaming at something in the darkness, begging it not to take her. The last frame was a blurry face. A woman with no eyes, jaw snapped sideways, skin burned black like charcoal. Rachel wanted to leave, but Olivia insisted they stay. Said maybe Chloe wandered off and would come back. But the truth is, Olivia had seen something. That morning, she found an old mirror in the basement. On the dusty glass was a name carved backwards: Yura M. Mary. The legend of Mary Black Hollow wasn't online. You couldn't Google her. She was whispered about by the older folks in town. The cursed midwife who'd been burned alive in that very forest in 1893 after being blamed for the deaths of 6 infants. Her curse: any woman who enters Black Hollow will hear her whispers, and if she answers them, she belongs to Mary forever. That night, Rachel heard Chloe calling her from outside. She ran. Emily tried to stop her, but Rachel shoved her to the floor and sprinted into the trees. Emily grabbed a flashlight and followed, screaming Rachel's name. What she found wasn't Rachel. It was Rachel's hoodie hanging from a branch, soaked in blood. Below it, drag marks in the dirt led into a hollow so dark it swallowed the light. Emily ran back to the cabin, only to find the door open. Olivia was gone. But on the wall, written in something wet and thick, were 4 words. 3 have heard me. Emily broke. She tried to start the car. Dead. Tried her phone. No signal. Tried praying. Nothing. And then she heard the front door creak open behind her. The witch stood there, limbs twisted like burnt tree roots, face cracked and grinning. She whispered in a voice that wasn't one voice, but all 3 of her friends combined. "We want you too." Emily didn't run. She remembered the mirror. She grabbed it, turned it toward the witch, and screamed Mary's name backward: "Yura M. Yura M. Yura M." The witch shrieked, a sound like glass shattering inside bone. Her face split open. and from inside poured black smoke and the distorted screams of every girl she'd taken before. The cabin caught fire. Emily was found 2 days later on the highway, barefoot, face burned, eyes wide with terror. She never spoke again, but she writes in her notebook every day. Only one came back, but she still hears them whisper. And sometimes, when people visit that part of Oregon, they hear laughter in the trees. 3 voices, calling out to the 4th, still waiting, still whispering. The Devil's House, a true American horror story. In the shadowy mountains of Montana stands an abandoned house, the kind that makes even the wind stop at night. Locals whisper about it. A cursed place haunted by the Hollow Woman, a demonic witch who feeds on friendships, literally. She loves groups of girls, the ones who laugh together, bond together, because she enjoys tearing them apart, one by one. In October 2021, 4 inseparable college friends, Madison, Sierra, Haley, and Jenna, decided to spend their fall break in that house. Madison found it on a ghost blog, advertised as America's most haunted rental, just $80 for 2 nights. Perfect for a spooky getaway, right? The moment they arrived, the air changed. The grass was dead and black, as if sunlight hadn't touched it in years. A stench of rot lingered in the wind. Trees stood leafless and crooked, like bones trying to crawl away. Blood-like stains smeared the front door. Still, the girls laughed it off. That first night, Haley dreamed of a woman, eyeless, with long white claws, sitting at the edge of her bed, just staring. When she woke up, claw marks were on her pillow. Madison joked, "Just a nightmare." Jenna laughed too, but Sierra didn't. She stood by the window, silent, staring deep into the woods as if someone, or something, was staring back. By the second night, Sierra vanished. Her phone was still in her bag. Her shoes sat neatly by the door, but muddy footprints led outside. Not human, animal-like, and backward. Madison and Haley tried to call 911. No signal. Jenna whispered, "We need to leave now." But someone had carved "stay" into their car tires with a blade. Then came Jenna's scream. Madison and Haley rushed upstairs. Jenna was floating in the air, being pulled upward by something invisible. Her body was covered in deep gashes, like claws had torn her open from the inside. Before they could reach her, she vanished. No scream, no blood, just silence. Haley panicked, blaming Madison. "You brought us here. She's taking us one by one." Madison cried, swearing she didn't know it was real. Then she remembered something, a strange locker door she had seen in the basement. Maybe it held answers, or maybe a way out. They rushed downstairs. Inside was a broken mirror, smeared with what looked like blood. Across the glass, a message. Quote, "Only the last will see her true face." That moment, Haley's neck snapped on its own. Her mouth opened, and a voice came out, not hers. "You are the last one, Madison." Madison ran. The whole house shook, like a beast was breathing within its walls. Doors slammed shut, windows shattered, blood oozed from cracks in the walls. She collapsed in the corner of the basement, trembling. From her purse, she pulled out the small knife she'd kept for self-defense. And when the shadow appeared, not a woman but a twisted skeleton cloaked in black smoke, she lunged forward and drove the blade into its heart. A shriek erupted, so loud and inhuman that the entire valley echoed with it. And then, silence. Madison was found at dawn, walking barefoot along the highway. Her hands were drenched in blood. Her eyes were wide, soulless. She kept whispering the same thing over and over. "I killed her. I killed the hollow woman, but I still hear my friends laughing in the dark. Madison remains institutionalized at Montana State Asylum. She doesn't sleep, because every time she closes her eyes, she hears Sierra, Haley, and Jenna calling her name. And she knows the witch may be gone, or maybe she's just waiting for the next group of friends. If you ever drive past Black Hollow at night and hear laughter from the trees, don't look back. She might be calling you next. The Devil's Creek, a true American horror story. Deep in the isolated forests of Montana lies an old, forgotten bridge known as Devil's Creek Bridge. Locals whisper that groups of young women who dare to visit it are never seen again. Beneath that bridge lives an ancient demonic witch. No one knows her name, only that she feeds on bonds of love, friendships, sisterhood, unbreakable ties. They're her favorite. In October 2022, 4 best friends, Ashley, Megan, Rachel, and Emily, planned a weekend camping trip. Ashley had found an abandoned location online, Devil's Creek. She wanted to vlog, take aesthetic photos, and prove that ghosts were just stories. The first night was uneventful. Campfire laughs, toasted marshmallows, TikToks. But around 3 a.m., Rachel screamed. She was standing alone near the trees, trembling. Something whispered my name, right next to my ear, like a snake hissing. Emily told her she was overtired. But the next morning, Rachel was gone. They found her shoes soaked in blood near the woods. Her body was never recovered. Claw marks streaked across the trees. The air reeked of something rotten. That night, something took Megan. In front of Emily and Ashley, Megan started screaming. "She's inside me. She's crawling inside." Her spine twisted unnaturally, her eyes turned jet black. She clawed her own face and ran into the forest on all fours, like a beast. Emily and Ashley were the only 2 left. They ran like hell, through thorns and shadows. Everywhere they turned, they felt eyes watching. That night, Ashley vanished. Emily searched like a mad woman. All she found was a single bone, with Ashley's bracelet still wrapped around it. That's when Emily remembered a story her grandmother once told her. If the witch takes your friends, there's only one way to kill her. You have to stab her straight in the eyes. Emily took a broken hunting knife from Megan's old tent and waited. That night, the witch came. She wasn't human. Her face was made of thousands of skulls. Black snakes slithered where her hair should have been. And her voice was a blend of all 3 friends' screams. Emily, eyes shut tight, lunged when she felt the shadow. She drove the blade deep into the witch's face. A bone-shattering shriek echoed across the woods. Trees caught fire. The soil turned red. The sky blackened with flame. The next morning, Emily was found near the bridge, catatonic. She kept muttering, "I killed her, but she's still inside me." She lives in a psychiatric facility now. She hasn't slept since. She clawed out her own eyelids to avoid ever seeing those eyes again. As for Devil's Creek, locals still hear the screams at night. So, if you ever go on a trip with your besties, and you're 4 when you leave, but only 3 come back, consider yourself lucky, because if you're the only one who survives, then you better pray the witch didn't crawl into you. The Last Breath at Black Hollow. In the remote wilderness of Oregon, there's a forest so thick and dead silent it's known among locals as Black Hollow. No birds, no animals, not even wind, just Endless, damp trees, and something evil buried deep inside. 4 best friends, Jessica, Brittany, Hannah, and Lauren, were childhood soulmates. They did everything together. So when Brittany found an abandoned cabin listed on a creepy travel forum, they all agreed to go. Just one weekend. Off the grid. Girls only fun. They reached the cabin just before sunset. It was rotting, half collapsed, with strange markings on the doors, symbols no one could read. Lauren laughed, probably just dumb graffiti. But Jessica felt something cold wrap around her neck the moment she stepped inside. The first night was filled with wine, stories, and music. But at exactly 3:33 a.m., Brittany sat up in her sleeping bag, wide-eyed. She whispered, "She's in the mirror." The others thought she was dreaming, until her body twisted violently and she was yanked toward the dusty wall mirror. Her screams were sucked into it like water spiraling down a drain. They never found her. Hannah started praying. Lauren called it panic. But then the air went ice cold. Every window shattered. A voice whispered from every wall, 1 down, 3 to go. The second night, they heard footsteps. Heavy, dragging, coming from the basement no one had dared to open. Lauren said they should leave. Jessica agreed. But when they reached the car, the engine wouldn't start. The tires were slashed with something not human, claw marks too deep and wide. Hannah disappeared that night. They found her on the roof, her mouth filled with ash, her fingers clawed down to bone. Her final words were smeared on the wall in blood, "She's wearing our skin." Jessica snapped. She grabbed an old axe from the shed and forced Lauren to help her dig under the cabin floor, beneath the strange symbols. What they found was horrifying. A pit of skeletons, all young women. Skulls crushed, eyes carved out. Suddenly, Lauren screamed. The witch was behind them. She wasn't walking, she floated. Her limbs bent the wrong way. Her mouth opened sideways. Her face was a mix of the 3 friends who were already dead. Twisted versions of Brittany, Hannah, and now Lauren. Jessica ran, but the forest kept spinning. No way out. Every tree had her friends' faces on them, crying, whispering, "She's next. You're next." She blacks out. When she woke up, it was still night. She was tied to a chair. In the cabin, the witch circled her, laughing in voices that didn't belong to her. Jessica remembered the symbols carved on the door. She remembered her grandmother once told her, "A witch made of flesh can only die by fire, from a pure soul." Jessica closed her eyes, said a prayer, and bit through her tongue, mixing her blood with the dried salt that had spilled in the corner. She spat it at the witch. The creature screamed. Its skin began to melt. The walls shook. The cabin burst into flames. Jessica crawled out, half burned, barely breathing. She survived. But now she doesn't sleep. She's seen in town muttering strange names. She says Brittany still talks to her. She says Lauren's reflection follows her in the mirrors. She says the witch didn't die. It just took a new face. And if you visit Black Hollow, you may see a girl in the trees, with burnt skin, and a smile too wide. And if she calls your name, run, because witches don't die, they just